I legitimately thought I blew my car up. Let me explain. So at this point, I've had my car for like 2 days. Now, the car at the tuner you guys saw made over 400 horsepower with my cutout open, and the car's just insane, and I can't be any happier. Everything's been going great. So I had one of the great ideas to film a reaction video with my mom and how she'd like the 400 horsepower. And as soon as I got finished making that video with my mom, one of my buddies came over and wanted to see the car. So I take him out and I do the same exact thing. I do a couple pulls with the cutout closed, and he's excited. He's ecstatic. It's going fast. It's crazy. And then I open the cutout and I'm like, this is where we really make the power. I do a huge pull down the street. It backfires like crazy like it normally does. Maybe I'll show you guys what I mean. Now the car always backfires like that. With the way that the car is tuned, if I go any more than 90% throttle and let off after a hard pull, it's going to backfire like crazy. But this time was exceptionally different because it backfired ridiculously hard and ridiculously loud. Now my buddy that was in the passenger seat was ecstatic and his face lit up because he was super excited that it just backfired like crazy, and I was like, yeah dude, it's crazy, it's ridiculous, it does that. But in reality I was pretty nervous because I had no idea why it backfired that loud or that hard. Now, as we approach the light after finishing our pulls, I go to flip my cutout switch to close the cutout so that the car would be quiet, and it's not making any difference. I flip the switch on, I flip the switch off, and I can hear the butterfly in there moving, but I don't hear any audible difference. Now I'm starting to get really nervous. And now as we're sitting at this light, my car starts idling like crap, and anytime I touch the gas it starts popping and backfiring like crazy, and I'm getting really, really nervous because I have no idea what just happened and I feel like I just blew my motor. Alright, so me being the idiot that I am, really was hoping that this problem was going to solve itself. Now I had a date later that night to go to the movies, and I really just needed to drive my car one more time to make sure that it was blown up. And if it was blown up, it's already been blown up, so it's not going to hurt it any. That was my mentality. I really didn't care at that point. I was just really hoping that it wasn't blown up. And so now I'm driving on my way to the movies, and all of a sudden I start hearing this. The car's getting louder. Okay, the car's getting way louder. It's driving like crap. I can't get this thing more than like 40, 50 miles an hour because it just sounds like something horrendous is happening. And then all of a sudden I start hearing this ridiculous knocking noise, and it sounds like one of the pistons just went out. It's rattling like crazy. I'm getting really nervous. I finally get to the movies. I get out of my car. I didn't even want to look at it. I go to the movies and I prolong however long and do whatever it takes so that I don't have to get back to my car. I end up staying out with this girl till like 2 or 3 in the morning, texting my boss saying I'm not gonna make it into work the next day. And yeah, I just literally didn't go back to my car for a long time because I was just nervous as to what was happening. She finally has to go home. It's like 3 in the morning, like I said, and I need to get home. So I get in my car, I start this thing, again it sounds like crap, and I'm just driving it as slow as I can. I hop back on the freeway, then again the rattling just sounds terrible, and it's starting to rattle really, really badly. and like I said, the car is driving like crap, still popping, can't get it more than like 40 miles an hour without it sounding like it's gonna just kill itself. So I pull over on the side of the road and I pop my hood, and I'm sitting there like looking at everything to make sure that nothing's broken, and I'm staring by like the turbo, and I'm just sitting here with my hood prop defeated, like the motor's blown, there's no ifs, ands, or buts, like this thing's done, and I don't know what to do. And so I'm just standing there with my hood open, and I'm staring at my motor, and then all of a sudden, like, just something clicked where I was looking at my turbo, and I was like, where the fuck is my wastegate at? So I peek my head down, like I'm with my flashlight. It's like, again, 3 in the morning, probably like 3:30ish at this point. I'm shining my flashlight down in the crevices, and I see my wastegate tube had snapped clean in half. The wastegate and the wastegate pipe that I had made snapped off of the manifold, and it was dangling by one of the wastegate hoses, and it was just dangling, caught in between my subframe and my sway bar, and that's what was vibrating and rattling like crazy. And at that point, I was like really frustrated because my manifold cracked, but at the same time, I was really excited that my motor wasn't blown. So, like I said, I took this video right here. This is when I found out that my wastegate had come off, and I shot it with my iPhone because, like I said, it was 3 in the morning. I didn't have my camera. So I thought I had a huge issue, that I thought I broke my car because it's been running like shit. No, I just blew my fucking wastegate pipe off. You see that? Snapped it clean off. And I sent that video to my boss and be like, look dude, it's really broken, I'm not even joking. And he was like, oh man, that sucks, like whatever. And so the next day, first thing in the morning, I drive back down the Rogers exhaust, and I was like, look, my wastegate tube snapped clean in half. Is there any way that you guys can help me out? And so they're looking at it, they're like, man, it's snapped in a really weird place. You're probably gonna have to pull out the turbo and the manifold and bring it down here separately so we can weld that thing back together and have it be strong and sturdy for you and that not happen again. And so I was like, fuck, I'm gonna have to pull out the turbo, pull out everything. All that work that I just did, I'm gonna have to redo because this manifold cracked. Now, the guys down at Rogers Exhaust pulled out some wizardry and welded it back together and created some bracing so that that would never happen again. So now my wastegate is all back together, the car is driving again, and it's supported, so that's never gonna happen. So I guess moral of the story is, if you guys are gonna be running the CX Racing kit like I did, make sure that you reinforce your manifold, more specifically where the wastegate is, because Rogers Exhaust informed me that where my pipe had snapped at was a fusion weld that CX Racing had that didn't get full penetration, and from all the vibrations and all the pressures of like the backfires and the turbo and whatnot, it just snapped it clean in half. And so, again, giving me a huge scare, making me feel like my motor is blown, when in reality it wasn't that big of a deal. I spent like $60 for them to re-weld it and create some bracing, and I'm all set to go. But yeah, that was my whole thing. I had the car for 2 days and I thought I blew it up, but there's so many stories of people blowing these things up, and I was just nervous. So if you guys if you guys like this video, smash that like button, comment down below, subscribe, because we have so much more content coming, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm out of here.